Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/IDontWorkHereLady. Today we have 4 great stories about crazy people. Let's start with the smallest to warm up. How much do you make a week? This is a story that my dad witnessed 30 or 40 years ago. He worked at a grocery store, and the owner was a real POS, would yell at staff on the store floor. If he didn't like a display, he'd just destroy it by throwing the boxes of cereal on the floor and make them stack them the way he wanted. One day, a young man came in that worked at a hardware store a few buildings down. They wore aprons, like to the store staff, but totally a different color and style. It was this guy's break, and he was slowly just looking for something for lunch. The store owner saw that and got madder and madder as this guy was just lazily walking around. Finally, he could take no more of it, ran up to the guy, said, "How much do you make a week?" He responded, $25. The owner opened up his wallet, gave him $50 and says, "Never come back, you're fired," and stormed off. Guy is like, I don't work here. But the owner had already stormed off. Well, I guess it's not the worst way to make money. Let's move on to the next story. Lady just wastes her own time, thinks she's won. I work as a POS, point of sale technician. My job is essentially driving around with a truck full of touchscreens and receipt printers doing service calls at grocery stores, restaurants, cafes, retail stores, servicing pretty much any company that doesn't have its own dedicated tech team. Many times each day I'm confused for staff. It's completely understandable since I'm usually behind the counter or somewhere effing around with a computer. I do what I can to avoid customer contact, dress in all black, no name tag, carry tools with me, avoid eye contact, get in and out as quickly as possible. This works most of the time, but otherwise I have no problem explicitly telling people, "Hey, sorry, I don't actually work here. Maybe they can help you at the other till." My job is literally I Don't Work Here Lady, the movie. Anyway, so today I had a call at a grocery store because one of the till's serial ports stopped working. So basically I have to crack open the computer case, replace the effed up PCI card, plug everything back in, install drivers, then reassign all the hardware to their new ports with the POS software. This story begins with me at the point where I've unplugged everything and have the computer pulled out from its compartment when I pop up from under the counter and see some lady unloading a cart onto the conveyor belt. She's on her phone. I give her a little wave and say, "Oh, hey, this lane's actually closed. Sorry for the inconvenience." But she continues unloading the cart. I point at the register closed little pyramid thing that's sitting on the conveyor belt directly in front of her, slowly growing pile of groceries. She gave me a little hand wave, like a shoe gesture, and then rolled her eyes but continued unloading. All bets are off. I make a show of slamming the computer down in front of her. I unscrew the case, pop it open, remove the effed PCI card. She's done unloading the cart and looking antsy and watching me. By the time I have the crap plugged back in and turn the computer on, she's off the phone. Her. "What's taking so long?" Me. "I told you this lane was closed. Try another lane." Her. "I already unloaded my cart. I'm not waiting in line again." As if she waited in line to begin with. Me. "Well, this till's going to take about 45 more minutes. You're more than welcome to wait it out." Her. "This is ridiculous. Where's your manager?" Me. "In his office in major city where we're based. I don't work here. I'm fixing the computer. It's going to take a while." So she stands around for a good 10 minutes while I'm installing drivers until a manager walks by and she flags him down. She tells him about how rude I was being and how I was making her wait, etc. Me. "I told her the lane was closed." Him. "How much longer is this going to take?" Me. "Half an hour?" Him. "Okay, we'll be happy to help you at the customer service desk." Her. "Finally, some service." So she loads her cart up again and walks it over to the customer service desk with a smug grin on her face like, "Lady, you didn't win anything. There were open registers the whole time. You literally wasted your own time arguing with me, then did the exact thing you were complaining about having to do. Move registers while feeling proud of yourself." And our third story today. Lady smashes glass door because I won't let her inside a business I don't work at. My best friend and roommate works for a small independent print shop as a graphic designer. We live in the burbs and the shop is located downtown about a half hour from our house. Oftentimes I'll be downtown for an appointment of some kind and I'll ride home with her rather than take the train. Usually by 4 p.m., the only people left in the shop are her and a specific coworker, so I'll just hang out in the front area of the shop with my laptop. At 5 p.m., they lock the door, and both of them gather their things up over the next 15 to 20 minutes before actually leaving. They're often out of sight, packing up in the back. Last Friday was one such day. At around 5:10, a lady came up to the door of the shop, a glass door, saw me sitting there and started tapping on the door. I looked up and mouthed, "The shop is closed." She yelled back, "I have a question." I pointed at my wrist and said loudly, "I'm sorry, the shop closes at 5. I don't work here." She grabbed the handle on the door and started shaking it as if she could magically make the door open, then started pounding on the door again, so I set down my laptop and walked over to the door. She screamed, "I only have one question. Can you let me in so I can talk to you?" At this point, the screaming was really not necessary as we were only separated by a glass door. I said, "Ma'am, I don't work here, and the door is locked from the inside by a key I don't have. I can't let you in." She screamed, "Why are you being such an a-hole? I know you're closed, but it's one question." Then, to emphasize her point, she slammed her open palm on the glass door, which absolutely shattered. Honestly, I've never seen anything like it. It's not like it cracked and spider-webbed out. It just went to shards and fell to the ground. Fortunately, I had stepped back. The lady blinked in shock, then started to speed walk away. Fortunately, we're in a massive metropolitan city, and I was able to follow her for only half a block before I saw a police officer standing on the street. The officer walked us both back to the shop, with the woman ranting about how it wasn't her fault and if I had just let her in, blah, 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 blah. She called for backup, and 2 more officers arrived, and by this time, my friend and her coworker had come up front. They took another officer back to look at the security footage, which is digitally captured, and I'm pretty sure that was that. Lady got arrested on the spot, and I had to give a statement. I'm told I'll probably have to testify in court on behalf of the shop owner to get a civil penalty added to the criminal charges to help them avoid small claims, which I'll gladly do. And the 4th story. I'll poop wherever I like. This sub is a dream to me. I have experiences like this constantly. I think it might be due to having spent 17 years in the service industry. I just have that look. I've started wearing earbuds everywhere I go, but obviously that's not something I can do in restaurants and bars. My buddy was taking me out to a fancy French restaurant as a treat, and I was pretty gussied up. I enjoy getting dolled up and wearing a beautiful dress to enjoy a wonderful meal. However, the city in which I live, Portland, Oregon, has a reputation for diners dressing down, even in fine dining restaurants. It's a running joke among locals. You'll go into a restaurant where a couple will easily drop a couple hundo on one meal. Over half the room will be wearing hiking clothes or yoga pants. I only mention this because the staff tends to be better dressed than the clientele. I was wearing all black with my hair in an elaborate updo and chandelier earrings. I think the all black is what started everything. This particular restaurant has a well-known and frankly downright foxy chef who typically works at a station expoing and plating where everybody can see him. It's also near the door to the only washroom and the server station. It's a huge restaurant, and with only the one washroom, there was a bit of a line. I waited, and at one point I think the chef and I exchanged a few pleasantries. When I was next in line, a middle-aged man in a Portland-issue plaid button-up and jeans got in line behind me. He had cranky energy and was shifting from foot to foot. It didn't seem like he had to go badly, it's just that he was impatient. And I'd been waiting much, much longer than him and found his constant sighing and scoffing irritating. When it was my turn, I reached for the door, only to have this awful man push in front of me and nearly knock me over, shoving himself into the open door. I was so taken aback, I just sort of froze and said, "Excuse me, I was next." Which is when he wheeled around and started yelling about how he wasn't about to wait while some waitress changed her tampon. Then yelled at the chef that he should have a staff bathroom because it's disgusting that the staff use the same bathroom as guests, and implied he might not pay for his meal because of it. I stood there in absolute shock and a full bladder while this man took care of his business, clearly taking his sweet time out of spite. Maybe something about his personality made me think he hadn't taken a normal crap in years. The chef apologized to me, and a waiter who'd been at the server station commiserated. I decided, F it. I don't work here, but even if I did, there's no reason to be treated like I'm not human. Seriously, dude, you're wearing muddy Tiva sandals and suddenly acting like we're in effing Downton Abbey. When he came out, I used my entire body to block his path out of the bathroom and gave him a stern but quiet lecture about how A, I wasn't an employee, and B, there's nothing wrong with sharing the bathroom with staff, and told him that he had ruined what should have been a special night out. Again, this all happened in full view of the entire kitchen staff and several members of the wait staff. I hadn't realized it at the time, but this jerk was actually seated directly next to my friend on the banquet. His female dining companion was sitting next to me. I'd been gone easily 20 minutes, and my friend was confused and annoyed. I figured at that point I had nothing to lose, so I loudly explained what happened while gesturing to the awful man and making pointed eye contact with the woman. The man looked furious, and the woman just silently glared at him. After a few minutes, the waiter wordlessly dropped their check. They were mid-meal and hadn't been offered dessert. It was clearly a very pointed but polite F you, get out from the staff after his rant. They paid without incident, and as they got up to leave, he tried to put his hand on her shoulder, only to have her jerk away and say, "Don't touch me." TFW, you realize your partner is a complete jackwagon who got you thrown out of a restaurant for screaming about tampons. We got a cheese plate and glasses of sparkling rosé as a gift from the restaurant. Cheers. Awesome response from the waitstaff. And thank you all for watching the video to the end. We'll see you in the next one.